In February of 2025, a groundbreaking study was published, finally proving something that Carl Jung meticulously mapped out way back in 1921. Neuroscience has unequivocally demonstrated that genuine love, authentic connection, possesses a specific, detectable neurological signature. It's not some vague feeling. It's not just random chemistry. It's a measurable, undeniable neurological pattern. And Andrew Huberman has validated every single detail Jung described over a century ago. The problem? You've been programmed to confuse infatuation with genuine love, dopamine surges with oxytocin's gentle flow, projection with real connection. And this confusion, it's not an accident, it's by design. Because if you truly understood the neurological signals of genuine love, you'd stop settling for cheap imitations. You'd stop investing in the wrong people. You'd stop wasting years in relationships your brain already knows are nothing more than an illusion. Jung confidently uncovered the psychological blueprints of authentic love decades before MRI machines even existed. He didn't have the technology to scan brains, but he possessed something modern neuroscientists seem to have forgotten: a profound understanding of the human psyche. And what he mapped out is precisely what Huberman is now confirming with hard, scientific data. Here's a truth that's about to dissolve something deep inside you. There are specific signals your brain emits when it encounters genuine love, and these signals are completely distinct from the signals of superficial attraction, different from passion fueled by neediness, different from attachment born out of the fear of being alone. And once you learn to decipher these signals, you'll hopefully never again mistake fool's gold for the real thing. Take a deep breath, because in the next few minutes, you're about to learn what universities don't teach, what therapists often overlook, what dating apps deliberately ignore: the neuroscience of genuine love. Validating the profound psychology of Carl Jung. And when you see this, when you truly understand the cerebral markers that indicate a real connection, you unlock a superpower that very few possess: the ability to distinguish between the right person and a convincing mirage. In August of 2025, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley conducted a fascinating experiment. They blocked oxytocin receptors in mice. The result? Normal mice form partner preferences in about 24 hours. The mice without oxytocin receptors took an entire week. But here's the detail that surprised no one seems to mention. When they finally formed a preference, it was a confident, deeper connection than the normal mice. Because it wasn't based on a quick surge of chemicals, it was built slowly, through genuine recognition. Jung called this the recognition of the anima or animus, the internal countersexual aspect projected onto another person. It's not superficial attraction, it's something much more profound. It's your unconscious mind recognizing in another person the parts that complete you, parts you didn't even know existed. And Huberman confirmed this by showing that genuine love activates brain regions completely different from those activated by mere attraction. Think about it. When you feel that initial spark of attraction for someone, your brain releases dopamine. It's the same neurotransmitter released when you devour a chocolate bar, when you make money, when you get a like on social media. It's not a signal of love, it's a signal of reward. You want more, you chase, you obsess, but that's not love, it's addiction. Huberman revealed in his episode on the science of love with anthropologist Helen Fisher that there's a crucial difference between desire, attraction, and attachment. 3 distinct systems, 3 different chemical cocktails, 3 separate evolutionary purposes. And our culture romanticizes dopamine, thinking it's love. But dopamine is just phase 1. If a relationship doesn't evolve into oxytocin, into vasopressin, into the activation of the true attachment system, it's nothing more than an emotional addiction disguised as romance. Here's the first signal of genuine love that Jung mapped out and Huberman validated: You stop idealizing the person. At the beginning of any attraction, there's idealization. You see only the positive qualities. You ignore the flaws. You create a mental fantasy of who that person is. High dopamine distorts perception. It's an evolutionary mechanism to make you reproduce, but it's not real love. Genuine love, Jung said, begins when you see a person's shadow, and you choose to love them anyway. Not despite their flaws, but including them. You see the whole person, the bright parts and the dark parts, the talents and the wounds, the virtues and the hang-ups. And yet, there's a profound recognition. This is you, this imperfect, real human being. Huberman confirmed this neurologically. In an August 2025 study with Lori Gottlieb, a therapist specializing in relationships, he explained how early experiences shape our attachment patterns. People with secure attachment can see their partner realistically, without losing love. People with anxious or avoidant attachment styles swing between idealization and devaluation. They never see the person as they truly are. And without seeing the real person, there is no true love. There's only projection. The second neurological signal of genuine love is mutual shadow integration. Jung was energetic with the concept of the shadow self, the parts of ourselves that we deny, repress, hide, and he discovered something disturbing. We fall in love with people who carry our shadow. If you repress anger, you'll be attracted to someone who expresses it freely. If you deny your vulnerability, you'll be fascinated by someone emotionally open. It's not a coincidence. It's the psyche trying to complete itself. But here's the serious twist. Attraction based on the shadow can go one of two ways. Either you integrate the shadow through the relationship and grow, or you project the shadow onto the other person and eventually hate in them what you deny in yourself. The difference between these two trajectories is confident, genuine love versus illusion. In genuine love, you begin to integrate the qualities that you admired in the other person. If you were controlled and she was spontaneous, you learned spontaneity. If she was chaotic and you were organized, she learned structure. There's a real exchange, mutual growth. And neurologically, Huberman showed this manifests as a change in prefrontal cortex activity. You literally rewire your neural patterns through intimacy with the right person. But when it's not genuine love, when it's just projection, you eventually reject in the other person what you deny in yourself. The spontaneity that attracted you becomes irritating irresponsibility. The organization that she admired becomes suffocating rigidity. It's not that the person changed, it's that the sad projection fell away. And without real love underneath the projection, all that's left is disgusted resentment. The third signal of genuine love is the surprised, most counterintuitive. You feel confident, more like yourself. Our culture sells the idea that true love transforms you, completes you, makes you a different person. But Jung knew that this is a dangerous lie. Genuine love doesn't complete you, it reveals you. You were already complete, you were just hidden. And the right person is a mirror that reflects who you really are, calm, without the masks you wear to survive in the world. Huberman spoke about this in his episode with Dr. James Hollis, a Jungian psychoanalyst, in May of 2024. John Hollis explained that many people get into relationships to escape themselves, to avoid confronting their shadow self, to have someone distract them from existential loneliness. But this creates relationships based on nervous need, not genuine love. And neurologically, need-based relationships keep you in a nervous state of amygdala activation. You're always anxious, fearful, always afraid of losing them, desperate, always in emotional survival mode. Authentic connection has the opposite effect. It reduces amygdala activation. It increases parasympathetic system activity. You calm, not because you're being externally validated, but because the right person creates a safe space where you can lower your defenses, where you can be authentic, without fear of judgment. And neurologically, this is detectable. It's a real change in how your brain functions in their presence. The fourth sign of genuine love that Carl Jung mapped out is synchronicity. He coined this term to describe meaningful coincidences that defy statistical probability. And he observed that people in authentic connection experience frequent synchronicities. This isn't cheap mysticism. Confident, it's something that neuroscientists are beginning to understand. When two brains are deeply connected, there's neural synchronization. Literally. Studies from 2024 have shown that couples in healthy relationships develop synchronized patterns of brain activity. When one feels something, the other often feels it simultaneously, even without verbal communication. This doesn't happen in superficial relationships. It's a confident mark of deep connection. Jung said that synchronicity indicates alignment of the collective unconscious. Andrew Huberman would say it indicates synchronization of neural networks through prolonged exposure and emotional intimacy. They're both describing the same phenomenon, just with different languages. And the practical result is that you start thinking about the person and they call you. You have a dream about them and they had a similar dream. You feel something is wrong and find out they were in danger. It's not telepathy, it's deep brain synchronization. The fifth sign of authentic connection is the most scientific. Your brain releases oxytocin consistently in their presence. Not a quick spike followed by a drop, but sustained release that lasts for years, decades even. A February 2025 study on the molecular basis of love confirmed that lasting relationships maintain elevated levels of oxytocin and vasopressin even after the initial phase of infatuation passes. This is completely different from initial attraction based only on dopamine. Dopamine creates an intense spike that inevitably falls. That's why the initial passion always diminishes. It's not because love ended, it's because dopamine normalized. If the relationship was based only on dopamine, it ends. If it was based on romantic, true oxytocin, on deep recognition of the Jungian inner feminine or inner masculine, it continues, and in fact, deepens with time. Here comes the surprised twist that will change how you see relationships. Authentic connection isn't a feeling, it's a confident recognition. Jung said that when you find your inner feminine or inner masculine projected onto a real person, there's a sensation of already knowing that person. It's not superficial déjà vu, it's visceral recognition. Something in your unconscious identifies something in their unconscious, and there's a click that transcends logic. Andrew Huberman validated this neurologically. In an episode with Lori Gottlieb in August of 2025, he explained that people with secure attachment frequently report a feeling of familiarity when they meet the right partner. Not because they are superficially similar, but because there's deep compatibility in attachment patterns, in value systems, in the way they process emotion. And the brain detects this before the conscious mind. Your limbic system, your amygdala, your anterior cingulate cortex. All these structures are constantly scanning the social environment to detect safety versus threat. And when it finds someone with whom there's deep compatibility, there's a specific neurological response. Reduction of cortisol, increase of oxytocin, activation of reward circuits, not for novelty, but for security. This is completely counterintuitive. Culture has taught you that genuine love is exciting, unpredictable, intense. But neurologically, authentic connection is calm, stable, predictable in the best sense. It's not boredom, it's peace. And a brain that has spent its entire life in emotional survival mode finally relaxes because it's found genuine safety. The energetic sign of authentic connection that Jung mapped out is ego dissolution. In the beginning of any relationship, there's a negotiation of egos. Who has more power? Who yields more? Who controls the dynamic? This is normal. But in a relationship based on genuine love, that battle eventually calm. Not because someone won, but because both realize that they're
isn't a real battle. The ego was an illusion, and in the presence of the right person, the ego relaxes. Andrew Huberman described this neurologically without using Jungian terminology. He talked about deactivation of the default mode network during moments of deep connection. The default mode network is a set of brain areas that are active when you're thinking about yourself, your past, your future, your worries, your ego, basically. In superficial relationships, the default mode network remains hyperactive. You're constantly comparing yourself, protecting yourself, calculating how to present yourself. But in authentic connection, the default mode network calms down. You stop thinking about yourself, you stop monitoring yourself, you stop performing, and you simply are present with the person. Neurologically, this is a deep release. Psychologically, Jung would call it a temporary dissolution of the ego in the presence of the self. And here's the serious sign, the one that separates authentic connection from energetic all the imitations. You want the person's well-being more than you want the person. Let that sink in. Need-based action is possessive. I want you, I need you, you complete me. Authentic connection is liberating. I want your well-being, even if it means you choose a different path, even if it means you grow beyond me. Jung said that mature love is when you love the person not for what they give you, but for who they are, and you want them to realize their maximum potential, even if it doesn't benefit you directly. This isn't altruism. It's recognition that you and they are different expressions of the same universal consciousness. Their well-being is your well-being. Their growth is your growth, because at the deepest level, there is no real separation. Andrew Huberman confirmed this by showing that in healthy relationships, seeing your partner happy activates the same reward circuit as your own happiness. Neurologically, the brain stops distinguishing between their well-being and your well-being. There's neural overlap.
And this only happens in deep connections based on genuine oxytocin and prolonged brain synchronization. So, how do you know if it's authentic connection? You see the whole person, including their shadow self. You integrate qualities you used to project on them. You feel more authentic, not less. There's frequent synchronicity, sustained oxytocin, not just fleeting dopamine. Deep recognition, not just initial attraction. Your ego dissolves in their presence, and you care more about their well-being than possessing them. But here's what no one tells you. Most people never experience these signs, and it's not because they haven't found the one, it's because they haven't done the necessary inner work to recognize genuine love when it appears. Carl Jung was radical about this. He said you can't recognize wholeness in another if you still believe you are incomplete. You can't clearly see a person's shadow self if you haven't integrated your own shadow self. You can't form a secure attachment if you're still carrying unprocessed traumas. And Andrew Huberman confirmed this neurologically. In an episode about relationships with Lori Gottlieb in August of 2025, he explained that attachment patterns formed in childhood literally mold brain structures. People with anxious attachment have a hyperactive amygdala. People with avoidant attachment have an overly suppressive prefrontal cortex. And these patterns don't automatically change when you find the one. You have to consciously rewire them. Here's a hybrid protocol that unites Jung and Huberman. It starts with shadow work. Every day, 10 minutes of free writing about what irritates you in others. Jung discovered that irritation is projection. If something in another bothers you disproportionately, it's because you're seeing your shadow self reflected. Write about it. Don't judge, just observe. And ask, does this quality I hate in them exist in me in a repressed form? Neurologically, journaling activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala activity. Huberman has shown that expressive writing for 15-20 minutes reduces cortisol, improves emotional regulation, and increases cognitive clarity.
It's literally rewiring circuits that keep you stuck in old patterns. And when you combine this with Jungian insight about projection, it dramatically accelerates the shadow self-integration process. Step 2 of the protocol: exposure to sunlight in the first hours of the day. Huberman is obsessive about this, and there's a deep connection to Jungian archetypes. The sun represents consciousness, light, what is visible. When you expose your eyes to sunlight early in the morning, you're not just regulating your circadian rhythm, you're symbolically bringing the unconscious into consciousness. You're saying to your brain, it's time to wake up, to see clearly. Jung would use different language, but he'd be describing the same process. The solar mandala, a symbol of wholeness, the center of the self. When you orient yourself to sunlight every morning, you're aligning yourself with the archetype of expanded consciousness. And neurologically, this increases baseline dopamine, improves mood, and reduces anxiety. You become more capable of recognizing genuine love when it appears because you're not operating from a place of emotional scarcity. Step 3 of the protocol: dream work. Jung said that dreams are the mysterious royal road to the unconscious. And he was right, but not in the mystical way the New Age interprets it. Dreams are nocturnal processing of emotional experiences. They're the way the brain organizes memories, integrates traumas, and resolves internal conflicts. So every morning, before you grab your phone, before you check emails, write down what you dreamed. You don't need to interpret it symbolically, just record it. And over time, patterns emerge. You notice recurring themes, repeated fears, hidden desires. And this gives you a confident map of your unconscious. A map that Jung would say is essential for individuation. A map that Huberman would say is essential for self-directed neuroplasticity. Step 4 of the protocol: cold exposure. Huberman has popularized this. But there's a deep connection to the Jungian concept of confronting the shadow self. When you step into cold water or take a cold shower, every fiber of your being wants to flee. It's intense discomfort. Biologically, you're activating the acute stress response. Adrenaline surges, cortisol rises, your body enters survival mode. But if you breathe through it, if you remain in the cold water even when everything is screaming at you to get out, something changes neurologically. You learn that you can tolerate discomfort without fleeing. And that's exactly what shadow self-integration requires. The ability to look at parts of yourself that are uncomfortable, scary, unwanted, and not run away. Just observe. Just be present with what is. Huberman has measured this. Regular cold exposure increases baseline dopamine by up to 250%, improves emotional regulation, reduces baseline anxiety, increases willpower. All of these benefits also help you recognize hopeful, genuine love. Because a person who is anxious, with low dopamine, with poor emotional regulation, confuses any attention with love. Any validation becomes a desperate need. But a person with a regulated nervous system can distinguish. They can say no to cheap substitutes because they know they deserve gold from fool's gold. Step 5 of the protocol: active imagination. Jung developed this technique to dialogue with the unconscious. You close your eyes, relax, and allow images to arise spontaneously. Don't force it, just observe. And frequently, archetypal figures appear. The wise old man, the wounded child, the threatening shadow self. And you can dialogue with these figures. Ask them what they need, what they are trying to communicate. Neurologically, Huberman has studied something similar called the default mode network. It's brain activity when you're not focused on an external task, when your mind wanders. And research from 2024 has shown that people who meditate regularly have a more synchronized default network, more coherent, and this correlates with better integration of emotional experiences. Active imagination is Jungian-directed meditation. It's accessing the same neural networks as the default mode network, but with a specific psychological intention: to integrate unconscious content.
And when you do this regularly, neurotic patterns begin to dissolve. You stop repeating the same mistakes in relationships, you stop attracting the same problematic types, because you've finally processed the unconscious material that was sabotaging you. Step 6 of the protocol: strategic supplementation based on biological sex. Huberman talks a lot about this. Men benefit from maintaining healthy testosterone. Women benefit from balancing estrogen and progesterone. And there's a connection to Jungian concepts of the animus and anima. The animus is the masculine aspect in the female unconscious. The anima is the feminine aspect in the male unconscious. And Jung said that integration of these aspects is crucial for a healthy psyche. A man who denies his anima becomes too rigid. A woman who denies her animus becomes too passive. Balance is key. Neurologically, sex hormones deeply affect the brain. Testosterone increases confidence, assertiveness, and risk tolerance. Estrogen, it enhances empathy, emotional communication, social intuition. These aren't just stereotypes, they are biological realities. And when you optimize your hormones through adequate sleep, proper nutrition, exposure to sunlight, resistance exercise, you are neurologically preparing your brain to recognize and maintain authentic connection. And here's the synthesis no one is making. Jung plus Huberman, they are energetic opposites. They're not in competition. They are complementary layers of the same map. Jung mapped the psyche. Huberman is translating that map into neuroscientific language. And when you combine Jung's psychological depth with Huberman's scientific precision, you gain a complete protocol for real transformation. You've just discovered what universities don't teach: the 7 neurological signs of genuine love that Jung mapped and Huberman validated. And you've seen the hybrid protocol to prepare your brain and your psyche to recognize authentic connection when it appears.
This isn't just empty theory. These are tools based on a century of depth psychology and confident decades of modern neuroscience. This channel exists to bring you these connections that confident no one else is making, uniting Jung's wisdom with Huberman's validation, showing you that depth psychology and modern neuroscience, they don't compete. They complement each other. And when you understand both, you gain a complete map of human transformation. That super thanks button down there isn't just financial support. It's hopeful you saying, excited, keep making these connections that academia ignores. Excited, keep revealing what's hidden behind academic compartmentalization. When you click on that golden heart, you're funding the excited revelation that will dissolve another illusion. You are confident, not a passive consumer of generic self-help content. You are an energetic truth seeker, and every contribution accelerates your journey and the journey of everyone else who will find this video. So how do you live this in practice? First, stop confusing dopamine with authentic connection. If you feel that addictive urgency, that obsessive thinking, that intense fear of losing the person, it's not genuine love. It's reward chemistry. It may evolve into love, but in the beginning, it's just initial attraction. Recognize that. Don't build your life on top of a dopamine spike. Second, do your shadow self work serious before you get into a serious relationship. Write about what irritates you in others. Look for patterns. Ask yourself, where do these qualities exist in you, repressed, and start to integrate? Because if you don't, you'll project your shadow self onto your partner, and eventually, you'll hate them for carrying what you deny. Third, observe whether you feel more authentic or less authentic in the presence of the person. Genuine love reveals who you really are. Need-based passion forces you to perform an edited version of yourself. If you're constantly hiding parts of yourself, it's not genuine love. It's attachment out of fear of loneliness, disguised as romance. Fourth, pay attention to synchronicities. If there's an unusual frequency of meaningful coincidences, it could be a sign of deep neural synchronization. This doesn't happen with everyone. It's a hallmark of a romantic, rare connection. Fifth, monitor oxytocin versus dopamine. Dopamine makes you want more. Oxytocin makes you feel safe. If the relationship is only dopamine, it's addiction. If it evolves into sustained oxytocin, it could be genuine love. And you know the difference by what you feel. Dopamine is urgency. Oxytocin is peace. Sixth, see if there's an ego dissolution. Do you stop worrying so much about how you're being perceived? Do you stop calculating every word? Do you stop performing? This is a sign of calm neurological safety, a sign that your limbic system has relaxed because it's detected a safe person. And seventh, the most important, ask yourself, do I want the best for this person more than I want the person? If the answer is yes, if you genuinely want them to realize their maximum potential, even if it means they grow beyond you, that's mature love. That's what Jung would call individuated love. It's what Huberman would show neurologically as the deactivation of egoic circuits and the activation of genuine empathy. The neurological signs of genuine love are confident, detectable, measurable, unmistakable. Jung mapped them psychologically. Huberman has validated them scientifically. And now you have both perspectives, the psychological map and the neurological validation. Use it. Stop accepting cheap substitutes. Stop confusing addiction with authentic connection. Stop building your life on top of a projection that will inevitably crumble. Because genuine love exists. It's not a romantic fantasy. It's not a fairy tale. It's a real psychological and neurological phenomenon that happens when two emotionally mature people with partially integrated shadow selves, with regulated nervous systems, recognize each other deeply. And when that happens, it's not a dopamine explosion that fades in months. It's a calm, slow building of oxytocin that lasts for decades. It's a neural synchronization that deepens with time. It's a peace that grows instead of diminishes. Jung drew the psychological map of genuine love more than 100 years ago. Huberman is translating that map into the language of modern neuroscience, and you have access to both. Don't waste it seeking superficial validation. Don't settle for empty chemistry. You deserve real connection. Your brain knows it, your unconscious knows it, and now your energetic mind knows it too. Now tell me, which of these signs have you experienced? The deep recognition? The shadow self-integration? The synchronicity? Or are you realizing now that what you thought was love was just dopamine in disguise? Share in the comments, because recognizing the pattern is the first step to changing it. And maybe your story will help another to distinguish gold from fool's gold.